What's going on, guys? Getting in the green. 10:21. We've got a 3-game slate tonight for basketball. So we're kind of all over the place with the NBA. We got a 2-game slate, followed up with an 11-game monster slate, and now we're back to 3 here. I think we got another big slate again on schedule for tomorrow. But look, when we get these smaller slates, we can dive a little more into detail, kind of talk about some pivots, things like that. So we're going to get started kind of with the first game of the night over on DraftKings. So we've got Dallas at Atlanta. Should be a good game, man. You got some big names here, but you've also got some role players that it's their time to kind of step up. So let's start with Dallas. And anytime you're dealing with Dallas, you got Luka, who's always in play. 10,600 on DraftKings, but look, you're going to pay up for some of the big dogs today. No issues with it being Luka. He always owns Atlanta. Historically great performance against them. So on the Dallas side, you got Luka. Then you got Porzingis down at 7,100, which really isn't a bad price. And I know he was awful in the playoffs last year, but he's looked decent in the preseason so far. And if that guy is anywhere near where he should be, 7,100 seems like a fair price for this guy right now. I'm really not interested in Hardaway Jr., Dory Finney-Smith, Bullock, maybe Brunson. But the problem with Brunson is they don't really like to use him with Luka too often. And, man, when you're just getting backup point guard minutes, he performs great on the court, but he's just not seeing enough time there. It's pretty spread out and thin, honestly, for Dallas, man. I'm not seeing much here that really catches my eye. So, yeah, you got Luka. Porzingis is in a good spot, but I'm going to be honest, looking later on, kind of in this day, I'm going to go other places at that 7,000 range. So, yeah, it's Luka or bust, really, for Dallas here for me. But let's take a look over at Atlanta, and they got a couple interesting spots, and they are the favorites tonight at home. So, Trae Young's always great, and you get a nice little discount there at 9,100 off some of the big guys. I really like Capella and Collins here. Dallas is not really offering too much as far as any kind of resistance there at the rim, rebounding, anything like that. So Capella scares me a little, though, coming off of that injury. If they limit his minutes, man, it might be hard for him to kind of hit that tag of 7,200. But on the same hand, and he doesn't have the scoring upside, but this guy will absolutely dominate if they give him a full load of minutes here tonight. So Capella's in play for me. Collins is interesting because Collins, like I said, he's another guy. When he gets going, man, this guy can do it all, and he rebounds with the best of them. So $6,800 on Collins. If you kind of find yourself in that position, that's not a bad place to go. And then you got a couple guys here in the 6,000s for them, and Bogdanovich and Herter, not bad plays, real scoring dependent, and either one of them could definitely make optimal tonight, but kind of at that price point, you're going to have a hard time fitting them all in. So the one I'm really interested in is going to be down a little farther is DeAndre Hunter, and this guy's coming in at $4,700 tonight. Has looked great in the preseason. This guy's an absolute stud. So if he can get those minutes, if he gets upwards of 30 minutes here tonight, oh man, this guy is going to have a great game. When he's healthy, man, he is effective. He can shoot. He can run the floor. The guy does it all. So DeAndre Hunter is in play for me here, especially at that $4,700 price tag. Not necessarily a must play because we'll get into kind of the next game where there's a lot of great value. Other than that, I'm not really in on Cam Reddish tonight. So, yeah, for me, I probably won't be playing that much Trae Young with the other guards that are on this slate. So it's going to be Capella, Collins, and then I'm going to be dropping down to Hunter to get some exposure there. The next game is going to be the game that is chalky. So we've got Milwaukee at Miami. Obviously, we already got one game kind of sample out of Milwaukee. And a couple notes on that. They ran a very small rotation game one, 9 players until some garbage time minutes went to some scrubs. So we're running a tight rotation now. It's shoot around this morning. We lose Brooke Lopez and Drew Holiday are ruled out. So that small rotation just got a little smaller. And because of that, we've got some great value plays here. And you're going to have to throw some of them in just purely off minutes. I mean, you can't pass the minutes these guys are going to get at that price. So Giannis and Middleton definitely get another uptick with Holiday out. I'd say Middleton a little more so, kind of, the ball's going to be in Middleton's hands a little bit more, or Giannis is going to do what Giannis does. So pay up for Giannis, definitely in play, just like it was, in the first night. I like Middleton here. Then you've got a lot of outs, and it really opens up that range right there. We've got 4,500 and 4,400. Connaughton had a great game. I'm going to go out and say Grayson Allen looked better on the floor, though. This guy was scrappy. He was kind of doing everything they asked of him. He didn't shoot it great in the beginning of the game. But overall, man, had a good performance. And Connaughton, though, lit it up from the floor. And we'll hop over. We'll take a look at that box score and see exactly what we got out of each of those guys. But I'm leaning Grayson Allen here of the two. And then we've got two guys now. I'm not sure what they're going to do with their starting lineup, but I do feel like they're going to play a little small ball here against Miami. And if that happens, I think Jordan Nwora really gets some burn at the small forward, power forward position. They're going to slide Giannis over to center, I think. So even if it doesn't start the game like that, that's definitely how I see him finishing the game. Nwora's a stud, man. The guy looked good on the floor. Can shoot the three, lanky, $3,700. I mean, it's hard not to play Nwora tonight. The other one's $3,500. You're going to have George Hill sliding in for the start there for Drew Holiday. And, at $3,500, I got no problem getting this guy in the lineup if you need it. So, of the two, though, I'm much higher on Nwora here. But we do have George Hill. So, I'm going to hop over to that box score, and let's see what we had here. So Connaughton played 30 minutes, was the most minutes off the bench, 4 of 9 from 3, 8 of 13 overall, had 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, and the guy stuffed the stat sheet for you. So he's not going off for 20 every game, but this guy is a stud. Now Nwora played 26 minutes, was the second most off the bench. And he went 6 of 13, 3 of 6 from 3, 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block, a turnover with 3 fouls. But, 15 points. Monster game. I think this guy's more reliable to stuff the stat sheet for you. But Connaughton's in a great spot. Now, Grayson Allen, like I told you, he didn't shoot well. But the guy had 10 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. Shot 3 of 10 from 3. You're getting 10 3-pointers out of this guy. He's just spotting up for this team. They will fall. This guy's got huge upside to me, and I'm loving Grayson Allen in this spot. George Hill had a really bad game, but 23 minutes, was kind of the facilitator, had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, only 1 point on 0 of 3 shooting. With Holiday out, though, I think he kind of takes a little bit more of an offensive role here with the team and really gets it going. So look, I think the chalk's going to be on Connaughton. I'm loving Grayson Allen's spot here, though, and Nwora at the price is, like I said, it's kind of hard not to put him in your lineup and allows you to stack some of the bigger dogs here on this slate. In that same game, we've got Miami. Now, Miami, you got Jimmy Butler, and he comes at a decent discount. 8,300 is not a bad spot for this guy. But with that being said, on a slate that's got Luka, Trey, Giannis. Later in the day, we got Paul George, Steph Curry. I can't play Jimmy Butler, man. He's just not the guy I want to pay up for, even though he's a stud. He stuffs the stat sheet. Could get a triple-double tonight. We don't know. But for me, Butler's a pass. Lowry's a pass. I do like Bam here with Lopez out. I think he just has a massive advantage in the middle. Giannis is not going to try and get in foul trouble. So I could see Bam just absolutely going to work here. I really like Bam here. And then the other one, Bam's at 7,600. Hero, though, who is filling in this sixth man of the year role, kind of, is what he's looking at here. I like the guy, man. He had a really down year last year after kind of all the hype from the playoffs 2 years ago in the bubble. And I think this is a big blow up year for the guy. I think he can score with the best of them, man, when he's on. And his game is built to be a sixth man. There's no reason to have that guy out there with Butler and Bam and these other guys that need the ball. Bring that guy off the bench, give him the green light. Lou Williams-esque. Just let this guy shoot. So, $5,200, I think Hero's definitely in play tonight. And outside of that, you've always got, 3-point upside with Robinson, but not loving it. PJ Tucker, not so much. So for me, for Miami tonight, just because of the pricing, Bam is definitely in play at center at 7,600, and then I like Hero at 5,200. So that's kind of where I'm at on that game. And then this, like I said, that Milwaukee-Miami game is going to be real chalky because of the Milwaukee injuries. So just keep that in mind when you're building your GPPs if you want to pivot off of some of that ownership. This next game is not getting the love it should. We've got Clippers-Golden State. Now, for the Clippers, we got Leonard out, Ibaka out, Batum out. And we kind of got the same injuries for Golden State that we had, night one. So, interesting position for both of these. But I'll get started with the Clippers for you guys here. And I haven't yet made a lineup that didn't have Paul George in it. And Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, is an absolute usage machine. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get it done every night, but it's kind of hard. You don't think of Paul George in the same category as some of these big dogs, but, on a team without, if Kawhi was playing, he'd be 8,000. And since we have Kawhi out, he's 9,700, which I still think is a fair price for this guy. He's going to get it done, and I don't see him getting too much resistance out of Golden State. So Paul George for me is definitely in play here at the top. I think Reggie Jackson's interesting at 6,700, but I do think that, the addition of Bledsoe, even though I think Reggie Jackson is the second option on this offense, I think Bledsoe's going to take some out of his hand. So Reggie Jackson's not a must play for me, but I see the value at 6,700 if you do want to get him in there at the point guard. Zubac, I see this team going a little smaller, man. I don't really think they're going to roll with Zubac late in games. And Marcus Morris can definitely play that stretch five for them deeper into the thing. But I don't see the value here at 5,100 for Morris either. Terrence Mann's an interesting spot here at 4,500. But I'd say with the Milwaukee injuries, look, Mann's a great pivot if you want to get off ownership projections. But with Connaughton and Grayson Allen right in that same range, man, I'm going to go Mann all day. And that kind of sums it up for this Clippers team. With this team, I want to see some of these usage rates, some of these minutes, and how they're kind of spreading this around before I go too deep. So if I'm playing them, it's going to be the one thing I know for sure is that's Paul George is the one here. Again, look, if you don't get that guy in because you're going Luka or Steph or Giannis, I don't think it's the end of the world, but of all the Clippers, even though he's the most expensive, I think Paul George has the value here and should have a great showing here in the first game. Now we get to the Warriors, and we've got Wiseman still out, so nothing's really changed here. We've got Wiggins and Draymond on a minute restriction. We saw game one, and that'll definitely continue tonight. So you've got Steph Curry, but the interesting thing is Jordan Poole, who played like shit opening night, had the most usage on the team over Steph Curry. This guy was just chucking the ball up. And at 5,500, I'm going to go back, man. I think Jordan Poole can only play better. We've seen him play better, and you're just not going to repeat terrible performances like that back to back. So they're at home here. They were in LA, so they're coming home. I think Jordan Poole shoots better at home. I love Jordan Poole here at 5,500. He's probably a must play for me tonight. And on this team, I'm not playing Draymond. I'm not playing Wiggins. Steph's always in play. The guy had a triple double, even though he shot terrible first game. Also going home here, I think you're going to see a major uptick in his shooting. I'd also like to point out that the Clippers without Kawhi and the departure of Pat Beverly are not going to be this defensive force that they were last year at times. So, look, Steph's in play. Jordan Poole is at his price high up on my list. I won't be touching Looney, Iguodala, Porter. I got burned on a little opening day. Luckily, I didn't have too much of him, but he sucked. And then Bjelica, this guy was just a slate killer, and I had him night one, so I have love for this guy. At 4,600, might get some more of him here. I think the guy really gets to finish the game there is that, small lineup, stretch five, and he looked good, man. He passed the eye test. Guy was making great passes, dribbling, creating, knocking down, scoring kind of off the dribble when he needed to. Defense was okay, there was no reason to go away from him. And his fourth quarter looked great. So I can't imagine him getting any less usage, after that performance. So at 4,600, he's definitely in play down there with power forward and center eligibility. So I like Bjelica. Like I said, I got a nice little spot in my heart for him now. And if I don't get too much of him here on DraftKings, I know on Superdraft he's kind of in that same position he was. So I'll be taking a look at him over there, definitely. Other than that, that's kind of where I'm at for DraftKings, man. I think it's hard to get 3 of the top guys in your lineup, but definitely getting 2 of them is a must. If you can squeeze the third one in and you want to go all value around them, that's not that bad of an option. So if you go with like a Paul George, Giannis, Steph, or something like that, and you can make it work with these pieces around it because we still got value here, then that's kind of where I'm going to try and go. Definitely going to have plenty of lineups that only have 2 of them, and we'll see how that goes. So I think there's going to be plenty of leverage off of that Milwaukee-Miami game. And, well, we got 100,000 to first tonight, so let's see who one of us can take that. But with that being said, most of my leverage is going to be over here on Superdraft, and I'm loving some of these multipliers tonight, so we'll dive right into this, and we'll go position here on Superdraft, and I'll just slide through these percentages and kind of hit you guys with what stands out. All right, guards. We've got Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, both at 1x. Can't go wrong with either of them, but I'm going to tell you this. 50 is not going to get it done on this slate, so you're going to need one of these guys to score at least 60 if you're playing them. Just because there's some insane multipliers down here, and you just need to keep that in mind that they're going to need to go off. It's not a guaranteed lock like it was opening night. So, look, if you want to go with these top dogs, there's nothing wrong with that. They could be the highest scorer on the slate. But there's some value here, and I'd be hard. I'm not playing both of them really on any of these lineups because of that. So you got to pick your battles here. So Steph and Luka are kind of up there at the top. Then you start getting multipliers on Trae Young, 1.2x. Not a bad spot. I'm not loving it, though. Bogdanovic, I think, is just way too high up here at 1.25. I don't see him really being elite like that. Lowry's not elite. Bledsoe, way too high up here. When you got Jordan Poole at 1.45, I think that's an interesting spot for him. Herter's too high. I'm not loving Man. Reggie Jackson at 1.6 is interesting. Again, the Bledsoe, who's 1.4x on Superdraft, is, doesn't make sense to me. But I think Reggie Jackson's usage does get cut into with Bledsoe, so I'll probably be avoiding both of those guys. Hardaway Jr. is a no for me. Brunson's a no. Hero's interesting here at 1.6. Like I said, coming off the bench with that green light, that's not a bad multiplier to have. So heroes in play here on Superdraft for me. Wright's a no, Reddish, Bullock, Grayson Allen 1.65. Not high enough to really play the guy. I mean, I think he's viable, but if I'm getting 1.6 on Hero, I think Hero outscores him straight up. And then Connaughton's a 1.75, and they're going to get the same kind of usage here. So, I mean, I'm going to take the higher multiplier on Connaughton over Allen, where on DraftKings, I'm leaning Allen. But here on Superdraft, I'm going to take the 1.75 on Connaughton. Now, here's the one, the DeAndre Hunter's at 1.8x. This guy will be optimal tonight, man. 1.8x is ridiculous for this guy. He's a small forward / shooting guard, so look, if you want to go with some of the, top guys here at guard, you could slide him in as a forward, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better multiplier than DeAndre Hunter tonight. And I'm looking at the rest of these guards, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm cutting it off, man. I'm going to, you've got George Hill at 2x, but I just don't think he gets enough. He's got value on DraftKings, but even at 2x, I don't think he gets enough for you. Maybe throw him in one lineup. But for me, I'm going to be cutting it off here at this 1.8x DeAndre Hunter. And then everything's going to be on top of that. So, look, I'm playing. You got to play either Steph or Luka. Pick which one you think's really going to get it done. And put in some of these nice multipliers with them, and I think you'll be sitting in a really good spot tonight. Forwards is where it gets confusing because, like I said, we've got – so Luka also has forward eligibility, just a heads up. Giannis, 1x, so they're both going to be kind of in the same spot there. Then you get Paul George at 1.2x, which I think is a great spot for that guy. They got him with the same multiply as Butler, and I think George is the better player here, man. Bam is here at 1.25, but I do want to point out that he has center eligibility, and that's going to be pretty thin tonight. So I'm sliding Bam over to center a lot, but if you want to throw him in here as a forward, that's, he's viable as well. But you got the same multiplier for Middleton there at 1.25. I think that's a good spot for him. Not liking Draymond, not liking Porzingis here. Collins at 1.35. Not in love with it. Wiggins, Herter, Morris, man, no thank you. Tim Hardaway Jr., Cam Reddish, Reggie Bullock, not interested in this kind of range here. Otto Porter, I'm not interested in. But what's interesting to me here is that, okay, again, we've got DeAndre Hunter at 1.8. Like I said, if you want to throw him in as a forward, nothing wrong with that. But let's come down because there's some names that we talked about a bunch, and we haven't seen them yet on the multiplier. So right here, I got Brzlika at 2x again. I got no problem going back to the well here on this guy at 2x. Scored like 30. Let's just pull it up here. The guy scored 38.75 fantasy points straight up, and then you got to double that. So you're going to have a hard time finding a guy with that kind of upside that's going to give you this 2x multiplier. With that being said, though, there's another one in the same position, in the same spot, and that's Jordan Nwora at 2x again. And this guy in his last game had 30.5 fantasy points, so you got over 60 with this guy as well. Nwora's minutes are only going to go up with the injuries there in Milwaukee, so you got two guys here down here at 2x at the forward position that I'm just having a hard time with usage. Look, anything can happen. I'm going to probably play some lineups with both of these guys. Definitely one of them in a lot, but I got no problem going with both these guys at 2x. I think they both score over 60 for you, and it puts you in a great spot tonight. And I think a lot of people are going to be chalky up here on the Middletons, the Bams, the Butlers, the Georges, and I think you're going to have a hard time getting 60 out of some of these guys. Not everybody can do it on a team. So between Butler and Bam, you're not getting 60 out of both of these guys. You'll probably get in the 50s. But if you've got some spots here to get 60, 70 point upside, and, I think Velika, after, he was on that small slate, he kind of won it for a lot of people. I think he'll be a little chalkier than Nwora, but Nwora's a great spot here, man. So I would probably be on both of them. And sliding into center, you really only got a couple decisions to make here because there's not much value down at the bottom. So again, like yesterday, I say kind of on Towns. There was Vukovic, who I didn't mention, ended up having a pretty good game, and then you had Embiid burn everybody with the blowout there already kind of struck. So look, we got Capella, 1.25x. Again, I'm worried about his minutes, but if he plays a full load, he's a beast. I'm sliding Bam in here at center. I didn't play him at forward for that reason. I think he's got a prime matchup against Milwaukee without their big man. Porzingis could go off, Collins could go off, but for me, it's going to be Bam tonight at center. I'm not going to confuse this too much. And, center's that one position where, man, if you give yourself an advantage at center, really gives you some, a big boost in other places. So I think Bam's going to be pretty chalky, though. I don't expect too many people to go off of him, but I also don't want to miss the buck on that either. So Bam's going to be my guy. I'll probably sprinkle a little Porzingis in there, maybe a little Capella, but I'm telling you, the minutes on Capella really scare me. And other than that, I'm not going to be touching anything else down here as far as centers go. So that's kind of it, guys. I haven't gotten too much into props yet. I'm starting to look into them, just haven't had the time, but we'll start to bring that, to you guys as well. We're on Prize Picks. And yeah, look, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Tomorrow we got another big slate. It'll be a little quicker breeze through, a little less in depth like we got today. And yeah, hope you guys like the content.